Now I've got a set of 37 by 12.5 Mickey Thompsons on here with 17-inch by 8.5 bead locks. It's a lot of weight on the back end, and Ryan in fact called me on our way back from Tennessee while he was driving his Jeep and said, dude, it looks like your tire's gonna fly off because it's shaking that bad. And I gotta be honest, part of that's my fault because I don't have it tucked in as far as I should, and I don't have the jounce bumpers on the back. But then the second part is that this is just too heavy of a setup for that, even the Mopar Performance carrier in the back. Well, the guys over at Motobilt decided to hook us up here at Dirt Road CRED and send us over a set, or basically their entire kit of their body mounted spare tire carrier. Are you looking to upgrade your current Jeep vehicle? Maybe turn it from stock to more badass like this one here? You're gonna wanna check out our Dirt Road CRED Upfitter affiliate program. Whether you're looking to have a lift kit installed, wheels and tires, or heck, even an AMW full V8 conversion, whether you don't have the time, the tools, or really the knowledge to tackle a project that's out of your expertise, we're gonna be able to connect you with a shop that is in your home state and they're recommended from viewers on this channel. All you have to do is go on our website, fill in your information on our Upfitter affiliate program tab, and you'll get connected right to a shop. Now, everything that we have laid out here, we just got it back fresh from Blue Lake Industries, the local powder coat shop, and they did a fantastic job. They've got everything perfectly powder coated for us, and we did that soft, it's kind of like a light texture finish on here. It's gonna match our front and rear Motobilt bumpers perfectly. Now, what this does is basically reduce the weight that is carried by the hinges of your tailgate and put more of the stress across a larger load. Now, what's also nice is that these hinges are greasable here. With these bolts, you can easily grease them to have a squeak-free and a maintenance-free design. But then the nice thing is that you don't need to remove or use any sort of extra latch to open up your tire. The nice thing with this kit as well is that you can adjust how far out the tire sits. So when we do that part, we'll actually get this to sit as close as we can to the body of the vehicle without giving any room for it to wobble. Now, this isn't going to be a full installation video. We're going to take apart some things here and start to get this installed, but this is everything that's included with the kit. Not too many parts laid out here, so we'll just give you some tips and tricks and then show you that finished product. So guys, obviously we have to remove a couple pieces here before we can start. Now, this extended carrier does come with the Extreme Recon models, or you can option it. We actually had to hack off the extended portion here for the camera because we've already done the license plate relocations. That's one thing everyone asked for. They were like, Matt, do you still have this with the extended snout? I want it for my Jeep that I put a larger wheel and tire. And I'm sorry guys, but I already cut it. So if I wouldn't have cut it, you guys know I always give out my spare parts, but this one we've already modified. So we like to hold on to them, at least for a little bit. But with this, yeah, this is kind of the kit that's going to give you, you know, for Ryan's Jeep, if he runs a 35 with a lighter tire, this is going to be perfect. So this is actually the part that raises it up here. This bolts onto your factory location, and then this will raise it up. And then this reinforcement here is what's kind of a little bit more important. But we're going to pull all this off, and yeah, we don't need it. Neat. So guys, it does look a little bit worse than you seem in there. It's not too hard to get to this point. What you're gonna do is basically remove the 3 T40 bolts that hold down the side panel where you kind of have your carabiner clips. So those 3 get removed. There's one T25 screw up at the front if you have the Alpine sub. You pop this clip out right here, and then the whole thing pops out. So it's really not that bad. Honestly, it's just not fun to show it on camera, but it's not too hard to do. So if you guys are debating doing this, it's not too bad at all. Now, the other thing I wanted to mention is that I've already done the kind of rewire for the center mount taillight. So if you don't have one already, Motobilt sells the whole kit. That's not too hard either. You just have to run it over from the passenger side, or run it over from the driver's side, excuse me, over to the passenger side and then tuck it up through here. But the biggest point of this is when you have it to this point is you're gonna have to do a couple things. The first is to remove the T40 bolt on this tailgate stop. So we remove the T40 and that just bolts right here. You are not going to be able to reuse this with the Motobilt kit. So if you give it a pull, it'll pop out. So these are those detents, you know guys, when you open your tailgate and it holds it at certain points, those are what those detents are for. So this will not be reused with the Motobilt kit. So we can just go ahead and set this aside. Honestly, probably set it in the trash unless you're a saver of parts like I am. But that's not the biggest point back here. The other thing we had to do in order to remove all this, and you're going to want to do it anyways to rewire, these here. Watch this, Ryan. A dramatic shot.
Oh. Destroyed.
So what these are basically the covers here. So these are the covers that you need to remove to get access to your 3 bolts here that hold on the actual base of the hinge. There's one there, and and there's one down here. These are actually peeling. That top one peeled really nicely. I'll probably get just some Gorilla tape to cover these up, because as some other videos noticed, you can see sunlight with those. So we'll pull those off, and those are going to be the bolts you're going to remove. Now, before I remove those, I'm actually just going to go ahead and I'm going to take the hinge bolts off from out here and set the tailgate on the inside, and then I can remove those with a little bit less moving parts around. But set this tape aside. I would say clean this area up and put some Gorilla tape on, just so that we don't have any dust getting into this point. But pretty easy, and that's where your bolts are. So one good thing that we actually just thought of while we were doing this, you might want to keep a little section of that taped off piece in case you ever have to color match anything. Now, I'm not talking color match like Distinction Applied does, but if you ever want to get a can of paint or even make a kind of military trailer like we plan to in the future, you can keep this little square corner here, and that way you have an exact match if you want to get something paint matched to your Jeep. All right, guys, now if I'm not mistaken, if you have a standard hinge on the outside here, they are T50 Torx bolts, but these are T45 if you have the Mopar, the upgraded ones. Now, also with this, I kind of like that we already had the hinge gate reinforcement, because we don't have to break that seal of paint. Typically, if you would have a T50 back here that was just painted onto a standard hinge, you guys know that you'd have to probably pound this socket into there to break that seal of paint to get a good kind of finish. Now, I like to save all my bolts. I don't believe, yeah, we're not going to have to reuse these ones. Boy, some long bolts. Alright guys, so this is kind of a little bit difficult once you get to this. Just make sure that your tailgates, you don't have to have it all the way closed, but just make sure it's not flopping all around. If you let go, is it moving? Alright. Now we'll try and save all these parts. There's just spacers underneath here and some washers. And some forward bolts. And there's a spacer still in my hinge. But let's save all this, so that way if we put it over into Ryan's Jeep, it'll fit nicely. Look how dirty that is under there. Ugh. Right now, guys, you've got the perfect opportunity to clean all this off, too. You're never going to have it exposed like this once you get the Motobilt carrier on, so I'm just going to use some nice detailer. Really give this a good cleaning while it's leaning in the Jeep here. So they're going to be a 13mm bolt. You're going to keep these factory bolts here, though. I just thought I lost one in the body. And then the hinges pull out. And you're not going to need to reinstall these. So what do you guys think I could use these for? They're very, durable hinges. I don't know. We could figure something out. That'd be neat, like almost like a drop-down tailgate or something. Yeah. You'd almost have to mount them the opposite way, but we could figure something out with these, so we're going to hang on to them. So Motobilt does include these shims here, which we actually decided to go ahead and powder coat. Now, they included 4. They recommend that these shims be installed on the lower portion of the inside hinge bolts. So that's going to be on that section that we just removed the tape and put these on. I'm going to start with 3 and see how that works. Basically, the heavier wheel and tire setup you go. So heavier setups, you use more of these shims, because if you put these on the inside here, just like this, setting like here, it's gonna, when you bolt everything together, push the driver's side of the tailgate upwards. So that way when you put the weight on, it lowers it back down and it closes smoothly. So like I said, I powder coated them. I'm gonna try with 3, but the nice thing is you have a few, so you can utilize a couple of these. They've also made recommendations that if you just put a little bit of a dab of axle grease on the inside, you can actually stick these together so they're not sliding all over the place. So let's try it with 3. If we need more, we'll go back and put more. So this is actually the bread and butter of the kit here. These are all welded, and it looks like almost 3/8 of an inch thick here on these brackets. What's really nice is that these are actually going to be your bolts here that hold together the entire assembly. They are greasable from the top, and they include the rubber bushings and metal sleeve in the center. I've already previously installed this. There are some pretty tight tolerances. Don't be fearful. Just when you have these powder coated, do not have them powder coat on the inside surface of this barrel here. Now what these are going to do is slide into the body just like so, and like we mentioned on that lower one, we're going to be able to use those shims, kick this out just a little bit, which is in turn going to kick the tailgate up. I'm going to go ahead and mount up the top one and then get the lower one put on. But this is, you're going to keep everything just a little bit loose until we're finished to make sure we can make some final adjustments. This might look complicated, but trust me guys, it is not. We've only been at this for what, an hour or so, Ryan. Not too bad at this point. So let me clean these surfaces off a little bit, and then we'll go to get them mounted. So I got the shims in here, guys. Didn't have to use the axle grease, but I probably should have. I probably should have listened to Motobilt's advice. And we're just going to get all these snugged up. The nice thing with having that inner Alpine kind of pulled off is that we don't really need to, we can adjust this pretty simply. These bolts are plenty long to have plenty of space for those shims. It's just like setting up anything else. You want to just kind of start with snugging everything down, getting those final adjustments, and then really getting it set up. We'll also be installing the tailgate. We're going to put that whole piece on right there in the back of the vehicle. All right, guys, so we have the tailgate kind of propped up into the vehicle. Now, if I was going to redo all of this, I would have to kind of have it all disconnected. I could set it out. But the one thing we do want to set underneath on this bare section, Motobilt gives us 2 of these pieces here. So this will kind of set on there, and we had them powder coated, so that also looks really nice, kind of the same color texture powder coat. Now those are going to go on first, and then the big piece. So the only bolts that you're going to need, you're going to want to grab the Allen key bolts that are included with the kit. Those are going to be utilized on the hinge section over here. So those you're going to use on the hinge section, not the factory bolts. Use these Allen keys with the washers. So these are just going to slide on like this, and then the carrier will go on. And then the other bolt you're going to need are the factory ones for this center section. You'll only need 4 of them, and it is confirmed these still will work. These are the larger ones from the Extreme Recon and that kind of tire reinforcement package, but those are still going to work. So let's go grab the whole carrier. We'll set it into place, and then hopefully not scratch everything up. All right, that one started. All right, guys, so we're just snugging these up after you get them all on. We're going to go back and we'll retighten everything then as well. But just snug them up, and then we're going to get those snugged up. Now we're going to attempt to put it gracefully on. We've got everything snugged up. A word for the wise, if you don't want to chip off your powder coat like me, is slide this left to right to make sure that these bolts line up in those little coves first, and then you can snug everything up. So now I'm going to go ahead and try and grab the tailgate, and then utilizing our bolts that are included with the nuts or the Zerk end up towards the top, we're going to slide those down through once we have it lined up. That sounds very easy, but now we'll see how it all goes. So we got the kind of those studs that go into the bushings over here tightened up. One suggestion I will have for you is you're going to want to loosen those inside brackets to get these fully tightened up and sealed up the way you want. I had no problems getting them in the top, but lining them up through the bottom, you kind of needed to twist and contort a little bit. So just loosen up those inside bolts here. And then one thing you'll see when I go to close this right now, you can see how much higher it is. And actually it's not latching. So I push down and then I can get it to latch. But watch what happens when I release it. So it springs back up. Now the purpose for that is because we have no weight of the spare tire on. Now we're going to go ahead and I'm going to choose the tallest setting on here just because I like the tire to sit up a little bit higher. And then after that we'll show you a quick trick on how to get the mounting surface as close to possible as this and almost make it touch a little bit so we can make sure we are rattle free. Now with that being said, we've got pretty much everything buttoned up here. You can go ahead and tighten down those as tight as you want. See, like, right now it's very stiff because I actually tightened them up pretty tight, but when you get a spare tire on there, it'll loosen it up a bit. Plus, we can add grease to those and really get them to kind of loosen up for us. But this looks really clean, guys. I gotta be honest, Motobilt products are absolutely great, so we love running them and we love running them on our Jeeps. We got a ton of cool stuff coming for Ryan's too. Maybe not a full spare tire like this, but maybe some cool other mods. We do already have all 3 of our wires coming out. We run a different style of mount on the back for our plates, so these are already pre-run and they have holes here for them. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to get this plate. Let me grab it and I'll show them, Ryan. And I'm just going to show it because I didn't grab a bolt. Tuck our wires through, and then you can choose how high you want to run it. Now one thing you're going to want to do when you're choosing how high you run it, so you can choose it here, you can do it there, you can do it as low as you want, is see how close the bottom of your tire comes to your cutout depending on what bumper you have, and also how high you want to run this. Now I'm going to personally run it up here, install the 6 bolts, get those snugged up, and then tighten everything up, and hopefully get the tire on and see how it works. So here's a good way to measure for how much backspacing you want off the tire carriers. Get a flat surface like that. In our case, the Distinction Applied box that just showed up. And then what you're going to do is measure from the wheel mounting surface to that bottom edge. Now in our particular instance, we've got about 5 and just say 3/4 of an inch. I'm gonna take off another 1/4 of an inch from there, meaning 5.5 inches away. That way what we can do is actually snug this tire up to the carrier and not have any sort of flex at all. So here's just a great way. Grab something flat, a 2x4, a box like this, measure from the wheel mounting surface, the back of here, and just take about a 1/4 inch off. I forget what Motobilt says, but we're gonna take a 1/4 and try from there. Now in our situation for our camera mount, we've got all 3 of them. So we've got the license plate light, our camera, and then also our third brake light. So this is just gonna set up like here. So it should stay while I walk away to go grab the bolts. But what we're gonna do is we're actually gonna measure from this surface to the back of this tire carrier here. So that way we have that same distance that we measured before. And I'm gonna try and get it to 5.5. So let's go ahead and we'll get some bolts and a tape measure. Actually, it's about dead on. We're gonna go just out a little bit further. Not that far.
I grab from the bottom, not like set the bottom here, thread these through.
We won't be able to. Yeah, we can grab it and kind of we have to lean.
Yeah.
So you ready? You grab the lug. All right. So those are just kind of loosey goosey. They all through. All right, ready? 1, 2, 3. All right.
Gotta go up more.
All right, that one's all right. Now just twist my side. All right, we might have to pull it out a little bit. There we go. See it? We gotta get this to roll there. There, yep. All right, now give it a good push. Okay. So right here is exactly what we wanted. The outside of the carrier is just touching the lugs here and actually giving it some pressure on here. Once we go to the back and get everything tightened up, we'll go ahead and show you just how much of a difference it makes. But right now it's touching just the way we wanted, not too much, and it's not like completely angled. It's just giving it a little bit of pressure on that side. On today's viewer rig of the video, we are checking out Swede Speed's 2022 Jeep Wrangler 2-door wheelies. Now I really like this setup, honestly, because it looks so similar to Ryan's Jeep. Now he said he's big in the Volvo community, but he's been rolling around with Wrangler since 2013 and had a Gladiator since 2020. He is a decently equipped, it's got the LED lights, Alpine stereo, and I can see already the Mopar tube doors, as well as the Gladiator Mojave wheels. So he said he's looking forward to see what Ryan does with his 2-door, and I just love to see a clean 2-door like this. It's a really good looking 2-door in the Sarge Green, and honestly, cool to see you coming from the Volvo and the sports world all the way over to the Jeep world with us crazy folks. So beautiful looking 2-door here, and thank you so much for submitting. If you guys want to have a chance at your Jeep being featured, be sure to send us a message on Instagram or hit us up through an email. All right, guys, our Motobilt tire carrier is fully installed. The install was very smooth. I really liked the product quality of these, and honestly, we've been running all sorts of Motobilt products for a very long time. We still have access here for our handle. That was one thing I was fearful of about how wide these tires are, but it's got it perfectly mounted up here. I might loosen up those shackles over there a little bit, or maybe give a good amount, a healthy amount of grease in there to make it close a little bit smoother, because right now it's a little bit tight, but honestly, that's what you might want when you're off-road, just because we did remove that. But we're gonna close it up and check this out. Yeah, very, very sturdy. Honestly, it looks like a whole new Jeep. And you see how much closer it is, Ryan, to the actual cab? The other one that I had, when I had the factory carrier, it was sticking out probably another 3 inches. This is not only give us a better departure angle, it's gonna be more sturdy, and it removed those kind of weak spots in the Jeep. So just got a little bit more tidying up to do to put the kind of all the mounts back up here, and then just close off the interior. But that was it for this install. I hope you guys got a lot out of this. We definitely did, and we can't wait to try this thing out. It's gonna not only be great for road trips, but be great for off-roading and wheeling. That departure angle, the sturdiness of this, it's just overall going to be an excellent upgrade to your Jeep. If you guys want to check it out, look at the links in the description. We'll have everything in there for the Motobilt products. Give those guys a shout because they really hooked us up and they sent us this carrier, so they're an awesome team to work with down there. Till next time, my name's Matt with Dirt Road Cred, and I want you to get out there and earn yours.